All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Sharmelle Thomas with the SBN, and this is our podcast today. I'm super excited to bring a treat to you by helping you get to know Tadia A. Foster. She's going to share some great information with us today. I've had conversations with her over the past few weeks, and I've really enjoyed it, and I know you will too. So, with that, I want to jump right in. Tadia, will you introduce yourself and tell everyone where you're from, what your profession is?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Tadia A. Foster. My family is originally from the Caribbean. I was born up north outside of Chicago. I'm a second generation immigrant in the United States. What I do for a living right now, by trade, I'm a licensed social worker. I currently work as a mobile crisis first responder and clinical assessor. We are dispatched through 988, which I hope everyone has heard of, but if you have a mental health crisis, please call 988. So that's what I do for a living. That's my day job.
I love that. And that already tells me that you have a really good heart for people. I love Chicago. So love that you're from where you were born there. But that 988, that's a good reminder getting that out for everybody. So from there, I know what we've been talking
Mhm.
about is a little bit more. So outside of your main profession, as helpful as you are, I'd like to know a little bit more about what you've been doing, and you've written a book of poetry. So, can you tell us about that and what made you decide to write it?
Great question. Yes. So, when it comes to poetry, what led me to writing this book, it was actually an assignment, which I know is quite fun. Most people never say that. But for me, that is my real life. I completed my undergrad, I have a BA in English with psychology minor. And so, as a part of the program, I had to come up with a portfolio. And of course, this portfolio would be graded, and so that ultimately is what led me to writing poetry. I did not feel as comfortable writing prose simply because I didn't think I could express myself as effectively with the usage of prose. And so ultimately, that's what led me down the road to writing poems. Even studying English, if someone had told me at 18 years old that I was going to be an English major, I would have laughed at them, because what I typically thought and associated with English was just people sitting down and writing things, and that did not align with who I saw myself as, let alone studying Shakespeare and these things. As great as they are, I couldn't relate to them. I couldn't see myself in it. So I was not initially drawn to it, but along the way, God, let allowed certain people in my path to help steer me towards studying English. And looking back, I'm glad I did.
I love that. I love that. And I want to kind of pick on a little something you said there because I think it's so important to why you wrote why you chose the topic you chose. Even though it was an assignment, I'm sure you had kind of the authority to choose what you were writing about and why you chose it. And you've already talked about being an immigrant and even touching there on how you didn't connect so much as good as some other works of art are in the written word, right? You don't always
Yeah.
connect because you don't relate, but that kind of, would you say, bled into why you wrote what you decided to write and kind of the foundation behind your book of poems?
Yes, definitely. The one of the main things when I was studying English, I liked when I was doing survey of American literature, we were able to see from a wide variety of different ethnicities, different people groups. And so that is important to me, being culturally minded, because language and how we express ourselves is keenly important to a person in their development. And then, with that being said, I think representation matters. The purpose of my book, the meaning behind my book, was to help provide a space for people like myself whose parents are from another country and they happen to be raised, whether it's in the US or UK or whatever other country it is. I think many people can resonate with those experiences because the immigrants, the children of these immigrants, they're going to be going through assimilation stress, acculturation stress, and even the potential stress of deportation or family separation. And unfortunately, these are real realities, whether our families chose to come here or not, regardless of whether we were refugees, people of war, even folks descending from slaves. These people groups have gone through a lot, and so I wanted to make a space for immigrants and their children within the poetry community. Representation matters.
I agree. Representation does matter. Being able to see yourself and know that you're not alone, I think is one of the biggest reasons. And it sounds like that's what you're providing here in this poetry. And also, I would just say it's good for somebody who's not had the immigrant family lived experience to kind of be able to put on that jacket and say, what does that feel like? I love people who write. I think it's such important work. So, yeah, I love seeing that from you and what you've done.
It's so
Yeah,
important for people to be able to see themselves or see like people groups that remind them of themselves. Even some of the topics within the book, one of the poems, "We Are Cool," that comes off of a phrase that a classmate said to me. And this may be a common experience for children of immigrants because some of certain colloquialisms and phrases one may not understand. And I admit I didn't understand when he said this to me, "We are cool." I didn't know exactly like, what are you saying to me? And I can't go home to my parents and ask them. They're not going to understand me. So this is where one may go through some elements of struggle, being able to relate to different people groups and also be able to understand the world around you. So there may be some additional barriers when it comes to even understanding language or just different phrases, different slang phrases. And you may feel like an outsider just because, hey, I don't understand what that means. But in time I did eventually learn what that meant, but I had to go through some alternative channels to learn.
that makes, Tanya, that makes sense because even with you just saying that, I'm trying to think through there's actually different ways, and depending on the inflection that's used, the context of the conversation,
Yes,
it could
yes,
be, oh, we're cool, you're good, that's
yep,
fine. Or it could be a
yep,
question, we cool, it could be many
yes,
things. And if that's not something that you've used growing up, that
yep,
really can be, not that it can't be overcome, but that's an initial barrier in
yes,
communication. So that's a
yes,
really good, simple example that
yeah,
may not be that simple when you're living it in the moment. So I love that.
yes.
Would you say that's your favorite poem in the book?
No, actually, my favorite one is called "Empty House."
Okay.
If you don't mind, I read a few words from it?
Oh, I would love that. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, well, for starters, so this is the book, Meticulous Moments in Placid Places. And I'm, of course, the author, Tadia A. Foster. So, this is my favorite poem that I've written, like, that I would say of my own that I really like. And it's on page 26 in the book. And so I'm just going to read a few words. So, it's called Empty House. Extravagant driveways with red bricks. Blinds open for one to peek through. I walk up the extensive steps and enter the main room. Chair pillows motionless as though untouched for years. House stands still as if no people were here. Window panes filled with copious amounts of dust. Outside empty, but the inside is dead.
Oh, wow. Oh,
And
wow.
I'm sure you're probably wondering, what is that about? What is behind that? And this poem, what I'm really describing is that even though it's actually based on like a real house, a real place where I myself did live, and I was reflecting on myself living in this space and how it felt empty to me. although people lived here and, there was a family here, there was different things that happened here, but yet the home felt empty.
Mhm.
So there is like a hidden metaphor underneath that. And I hope that many people can relate to that concept of maybe living in a place where, yes, outside it looks wonderful, and even on the inside, everything is perfectly in its space, but yet it's still empty for the person that actually is living and dwelling in that space.
As
Although to outsiders, they would never know.
as you read that, I could definitely kind of feel the feeling there. And then it's, really interesting to hear your perspective behind it and have you. So thank you for reading that to us. Yeah, I love that. I'm excited to dig deeper into your book of poems and
Yeah.
let you know if that ends up being my favorite or not. So we encourage all of you. Tatia's going to let us know where to get her book in just a few moments, but encourage all of you to do that. But I want to ask you this now
Yes,
that you've
ma'am.
written a book and you've
Yes.
published a book, do
Yes.
you
Yes.
have just one piece? Because I'm sure you have tons of advice, but just share like one piece of advice that you have for aspiring authors.
I would say to just begin the process. It can take time when it comes to writing, but just begin. I think that's a tough thing to just know when to start. One can easily feel overwhelmed by the process, all the things involved, but when you just begin, like, hey, I'm going to just start. I don't know where it's going to take me, but if I just start, then the journey does unfold itself step by step, step by step. But one has to be willing to begin.
I
So,
love that.
so I would say just begin.
That
And
makes
even
perfect
more
sense.
so for people of color, even more so, I think, not being intimidated by the steps, just get started.
Thank you. And I think that applies to so much. It makes sense how it can apply to writing. So you
Yeah.
heard her, everybody. Go ahead and get started. Put your pen to paper, or if you're going to type it out,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, but make sure that you just begin.
Yeah.
So,
That would be
absolutely.
my advice.
This is,
Especially coming from someone who did not plan on being a writer. So
yeah,
yeah, just start.
an assignment that went really well. Most of us,
Yeah.
all of our assignments are still back at school, and
Yeah.
they ended, and you were able to carry this one forward. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. All right, this has been a treat for me. So I do want to ask: is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Something that I didn't think to ask that you think it would be helpful for our audience to know?
When reading these poems, I do want to let people know that some of them are based on my real life. Some of them are based in imaginary, and then some of them are reflective and meditative. So you'll find poems about different topics. And so it's my hope, though, I really like to challenge the reader to reflect on their own life, the good, the bad, and the ugly things, because that can begin one's journey into healing. And so I'm hoping that my book can help to heal people, can help to inspire them to become an even better version of themselves. And by utilizing what I've done as an example, I'm hoping definitely that people can connect with my human experience, because there are elements that impact all of us that I think that can resonate from the poems in the book.
I love that. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Tadia.
ma'am. Thank
This
you.
has been wonderful. I'm so excited to be able to share you and your work
Thank
with
you.
everyone here today. So, with that, if somebody
Yes,
wants to find your poetry book, if somebody
yes,
wants to just follow you and see
yes.
what's next and what's coming, how do they do that? Where can they find your book and where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Tadia A. Foster. I'm also on LinkedIn at Tadia A. Foster as well. You can feel free to DM me, and that page is actually me behind that. The book itself does have its own website, but if you just type in the title, Meticulous Moments in Placid Places, you definitely can find it, the website for the book. And then I also do have a poetry blog. And that's Alexandria Tadia WordPress.com. So that's like the top places where you can find me. And like I said, you definitely can DM me on LinkedIn or Twitter.
Excited to do that. So glad to have you. Excited
Yes,
to
ma'am.
see your book just explode out there. Glad to have
Yeah,
you
yeah.
here on the network. So thank you so much, Tadia. And for those of you that are interested in doing more with the network, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to other members of the network. But to find me, you can message me. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Sharmelle Thomas under all of those places. And my website is sharmellethomas.com. Tadia has been a treat. And this is just another great example of the different types of experiences that we want to bring to all of you at the Small Business Network. It's business is in the name, but we are a wide and varied people. And I think this is a great example with Tadia today. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And we will see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.